What if setting boundaries wasn't about saying no, but about saying yes to the kind of leaders you want to be? In this episode, we're breaking down reciprocal thinking, the mindset that makes boundaries powerful, relationships stronger, and leadership sustainable. From personal stories to expert insights, we're unpacking the kind of leadership that leaves room for both purpose and peace.
I just wanna see you on my new grave. I just wanna.
Hello, and welcome to Armed with Ambition, the show where we explore the power of leadership and resilience while providing you the tools you need to thrive. I am your host, Siobhan Cunningham, and today we will be discussing a leadership skill that directly impacts your ability to set and maintain boundaries. It's called reciprocal thinking. Boundaries aren't meant to push people away. Really, they serve to create clarity, ensure respect, and foster healthy relationships. The foundation for making boundaries effective is reciprocal thinking. To help us explore this topic, we'll turn to my friend Ashley Ertel, a licensed clinical social worker and U.S. Air Force veteran who offers valuable insight on the importance of reciprocation in leadership.
Who am I? Let's see. My name is Ashley Ertel. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, currently licensed in both Florida and Kentucky. As you mentioned, I'm active duty in the Air Force, currently stationed in Texas. Let's see, how did I come up with this big idea? So I founded the Delta Group in 2019, which was really interesting timing before 2020 when everything shut down. So I had this idea that being licensed in Kentucky, there's not enough women of color who are therapists in Kentucky, just based on my own research, what I was trying to find, referrals for people that I knew and things like that. And so that really hurt me. And so I was like, okay, well, what can I do? I can start a private practice that's virtual based, at least maybe to offload some of that burden off of the couple of people who are women of color practitioners in Kentucky. So I started the Delta Group with that intention of helping new moms with a specialty in postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, breastfeeding concerns as a CLC, a certified lactation counselor. And then 2020 happened and everything shut down. Everything went haywire and all of my plans that I had kind of went out the window. And every therapist, I think, in the world can probably agree that we all just became overwhelmed and overrun with people who needed support. And so the clinical focus shifted a little bit back to some of my prior specialties in crisis management and has kind of stayed in that world a little bit, but it's been really good.
So that was wonderful from Ashley to introduce herself. We're going to get back to her in just a bit. But before we do that, let's ground ourselves in understanding reciprocity in leadership. We often think of leadership as guiding, delegating, or inspiring, but at its core, it really is about relationships. In leadership, relationships thrive on reciprocity, a give and take that builds trust and deepens mutual respect. In the world of persuasion, reciprocity is considered one of the most powerful principles. When someone does something for us, we naturally feel compelled to return the favor. But in leadership, reciprocity goes beyond favors. It's about creating space for others to contribute, valuing their input, and demonstrating that their voices matter just as much as yours. In fact, a 2006 article from ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business calls reciprocity the gentle science of persuasion. I love that phrase because it reminds us that real influence doesn't come from power or pressure. It comes from generosity, listening, and modeling behaviors that we hope inspire others. It's not just talking about how to be heard, we're talking about listening and leading with respect. Let's explore this gentle science and how it can transform how we set boundaries, build teams, and lead with purpose.
Um, to your question about this idea of needing to serve underserved populations, I don't know where that comes from. I mean, I think I'm just like was born a social worker. I like this is just who I am to my core. I couldn't think of a better career field for me than social work, even though I love to argue. So maybe I could be a lawyer, but those are the two. Like that's it. Be a lawyer, be a social worker. That's it. So there's this plaque that hangs on my wall. It was my going away plaque from my second assignment in Idaho. And there's a quote that I didn't realize I said all the time that they put on there. And it says, I found it, I fixed it. And so to this need, that's something that's innate inside of me. But for me, if I see that there's a problem, I just physically cannot allow myself to walk past it because on the times I've tried, I like torment myself afterwards and then I have to circle back and go and fix it. So that could be something as small as like picking up trash, or it could be like, oh my gosh, there's this population of people who don't have the insurance to be able to pay for care. They don't have the financial resources to pay for care. They don't have people who look like them. And so they don't feel comfortable trying to receive care. And then the world falls apart. And then we've got, Breonna Taylor. And I mean, just so many things that happened in Kentucky specifically that I was like, oh, okay, me, pick me. I'm here. Let me help. Let me help.
Ugh, I love Ashley's story. One of the key things that you may have noticed in both of those clips is that Ashley didn't wait for permission to lead. She responded to a need. She saw a gap in mental health care for women of color in rural Kentucky and asked a powerful question. She asked herself, what can I do? Then she built something meaningful. That is leadership through reciprocal thinking. Stepping out not through obligation, but from a deep sense of shared responsibility and purpose. It's easy to think of leadership as a title or a position, but real leadership starts when we show up with awareness, compassion, and action. Reciprocal thinking means to lead by example. I know I've said this more than once now, but it's really important to know that you are the leader. You are the leader. Who you are is okay. And what's important about leadership is caring for your team and others. We give as leaders because we see value in others. We set boundaries because we value others. Let's hear a little bit more from Ashley.
Yeah, so no to me is like a challenge. It's like, okay, so in the military, we've got other people on the panel, right, who have served, and we have these challenge coins, right? And it's like I put a challenge coin down, and if everyone doesn't have a challenge coin, then whoever doesn't have it buys the drinks, right? So
Mhm.
to me, no is like the ultimate challenge coin, and I will bet on that any day of the week. There is no such thing as a no. I think that I tell my clients this all the time. Every no is a yes. You just have to figure out what the yes is to,
Mhm.
so that we can then rework the question. It's like
Yes.
statistics. The only way I got through statistics in grad school was understanding that, well, my answer is not wrong. I just asked the wrong question. So let me go back and change the question. And now look,
Yeah.
I have the right data.
Mm.
So for the business aspect of things through the Delta Group, there hasn't been a lot of challenge, I guess, in this particular industry for me at this point in time. I think primarily because I'm doing it part-time and only, a few hours here and there. And because it's mine. And so I don't have anybody that I have to answer to. I don't accept insurance. I do a sliding scale fee for folks based on what they are able to afford. And so I don't have to answer to insurance companies. I don't have to answer to some other higher governing body. And so the only person who's going to impose a no on me right now is myself. And when I say no to myself, it's just a boundary that I need to maintain for my own sanity. So right now, I think I'm doing okay.
Ashley is so good at giving great examples of her life and really normalizing the process of juggling multiple things. I love earlier she talked about, I found it, I fixed it. When she says, I found it, I fix it, it's not just about a mindset. She's naming a value that she lives deeply in so many ways. That instinct to respond to a need, to step in when something is broken, that is the heart of service. It draws so many of us to leadership. Ashley is a social worker. I'm a social worker. So we resonate closely with that need to serve and advocate. Um, it's really hard to just witness problems. We tend to absorb them, and, you know, it's how we feel called to help. And while it is powerful and helps us get a lot of things done, it can be exhausting. And reciprocal thinking is really helpful because here's the truth: when you're wired to serve, it is so easy to overextend yourself. It's easy to give until there's nothing left. But being authentic and having sustainable leadership style requires boundaries. That is a big word. But don't think of boundaries as roadblocks or barriers. Think of them as guides that help us lead with intention. With reciprocal thinking, it invites us to ask, how can I show up for others without constantly depleting myself? It also asks, how can I lead from a place of generosity without abandoning my own needs? It reminds us that leadership isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most, doing so with clarity, with purpose, with respect for the people we lead, and respect for ourselves. Let's talk about one of the biggest relationship hurdles that we face. Ashley already talked about this, and I wanted to focus in on it a little bit more. And that's the hurdles we face from hearing no. Whether you're leading a team or growing a business, trying to set boundaries for your personal life, the word no can feel like a sign that is worse than pause. It's rejection. That's what it feels like. So instead of thinking it as a stop, reject, how about we flip the script? And that's why I love Ashley saying that she notices no as a challenge. Every no leads to a yes. Not an end. No is not an end. No is not a stop. It's not an end. It's an invitation to reframe, rethink, and restart with purpose. Now, sometimes it can be a bit much and lead to a lot of other issues when you keep going for something when there's no. And then, of course, you have to know the difference between keeping this going or doing something else. But don't let the word itself no stop you. It hasn't stopped us yet. Now, metaphors are everything. So in the military, a challenge coin represents pride, camaraderie, and a dare to rise. And Ashley's right. Every no is a yes waiting to be unlocked. You just need to ask better questions. What I love most is how she ties this mindset back to boundaries. She created a business where she decides the terms. We're saying no to insurance companies or systems that don't serve her also means saying yes to sustainability and sanity and impact. That's reciprocal thinking at work. It's not just about how we interact with others, it's about how we respond to ourselves. Where are you saying no because you think you're not allowed to say yes? And where could that no become more straightforward and a powerful yes? What's the no in your life that might actually be a yes in disguise? I have one more little tidbit from Ashley. Now, you may have noticed a difference between how I'm looking now and then. This recording was done in the middle of the pandemic after I had my second child, and things happened and I never did anything with it. So I'm really happy that I had this episode that I could come around to and share Ashley's insights. So let's say a quick so long to Ashley and hear one thing that she has to say before we leave her. That's all we want. That's the whole point of Empowered Women Veterans, is to encourage just doing different, taking chances, and not being afraid to fail. Because big secret, every entrepreneur has failed at something at least
Yes,
once.
at least. Very likely several times.
Yes, it is so true. If I told you how many times Armed with Ambition started and stopped, and just all the things that happened leading up to now, you might not have believed me. And again, I want to thank Ashley so much for sharing her insight with us. Now, after hearing Ashley's reframe, no, as a challenge coin, a boundary rooted in strength and clarity, I wanted to take this conversation even deeper because saying no, well, that's hard enough. But saying no without hurting relationships, that's a whole nother level. So I turned to my mom, the OG expert in my life, and I asked her, how do you set boundaries without wrecking a relationship? It's a big one. We did a segment about it. Like to see it? Here it goes. Hey, Mom. Got another question for you. Are you ready? It's about boundaries. Ha! I know that I've made a lot of adjustments in my life, and one of them is how I allow other people to treat me, what I let slide, and how I approach things. And so I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about boundaries and using them without hurting relationships?
Boundaries. This is a good one because from the time we are able to say no, we are setting boundaries. Setting them so that we don't wreck relationships can be difficult because it's not your choice. It's about how the person you are speaking to takes it, how they hear it, and whether or not they accept it. So you want to be kind in what you say, but also get your point across. That's very important. And you have to also accept their boundaries. Just know someone is always going to test your boundaries. Someone's always going to try to push them to see how solid the line is. And you'll have to decide how important that boundary is and either let it slide or go with the flow or reinforce your boundary, which is also important.
Mom, you gave an excellent point that we develop this concept of boundaries from the very young age, and it starts with no, what we will do and what we won't do. What I've learned, though, is relationships are the key to that yes and no balance. My mom offered some wonderful insights. Um, and there's more on this topic. We just don't have time to do the whole interview today. So, guess what? We'll talk about it next time. One thing that's important to know is that reciprocal thinking is not about how I want to be perceived. It's about trusting in the good of others and creating space for them to thrive. And that mindset doesn't just belong in the workplace, it belongs anywhere we're building trust and empowering others. Like in journalism, where telling stories takes courage, collaboration, and deep respect for people's experiences. Are you a military veteran passionate about storytelling, truth, and making an impact? Military Veterans in Journalism is here to help you find your voice and shape the future of media. From workshops to mentorship programs, this incredible organization connects veterans with the tools they need to excel in journalism. When you join Military Veterans in Journalism, you're not just gaining access to career opportunities, you're joining a community where your feedback matters. Whether through networking events and participating in discussions or subscribing to their newsletter, you will have plenty of chances to share your ideas and collaborate with fellow veterans. And here's the best part. By becoming a member of Military Veterans in Journalism, you can start sharing feedback, exchanging ideas, and thanking others for their input. It's all part of the journey. Head on over to mvj.network to learn more and sign up today. Start building your legacy in journalism. Thanks, Military Veterans in Journalism, for sponsoring this show. Reciprocal thinking isn't just about listening, it's about engaging, responding, and setting clear expectations. Today, we explored the power of boundaries in leadership. Thanks, Mom. We talked with Ashley, who gave some really great insight on challenging no's into yeses and finding that space where you can help and give back to others rather than dictating what they should do. Do me a favor and drop your comments in the comments to keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care.
Where do we go from? Where do we go from here? No one can save us from keeping clear.